With luck, I will be starting to weld this pan in today. So you can see I've got my spot weld holes drilled out, weld through primer around all the areas that are either going to be covered or are attaching other segments of metal. Now, the reason I'm going to do one more fitment check is because I have yet to drill out the lower inner firewall. So I just want to check those spot weld points before I drill them out to make sure they kind of conform to the floor pan. But I think everything else is ready to accept the pan. So I'll get that pan up in here one more time, just screw it in, mark my holes, and then drop it just for a little bit. We are finally off and running here. So I've secured the pan with 4 self-tapping metal screws across the side. I've got a couple of vice grips to grip it along here. I've already done 2 spot welds right in the middle. I think I'm going to start in the tunnel and work my way to the outer edges. That way if the metal expands or whatever, I'll be kind of working outwards. So the next spot I'm going to weld will be right here in the middle of the tunnel. Need to tighten that up a little bit more, get a couple of spots lap welds right in there, and then I'll go to the top side and press the tunnel down onto the floor pan, and again working my way from the center out. So I had a bit of a bow where the pan mates up with the tunnel. It was sagging, so what I did is I took my floor jack with a piece of 2x4 and I'm jacking up to press it to the tunnel, and I'll need to do a little pounding on the edges there to tighten that up some more. But I'll get a few welds in there, move to the other side and do the same thing. Well, not even really halfway done. I ran out of shielding gas, but you can see in addition to the spot welds, about every 6 or 8 inches I'm also putting a seam weld just for added assurance. And then if you remember back there by that anchor point, it had a pretty good one at the factory, so I'm putting one there as well. But you know, it's getting to the point where now I can probably climb up in there and finish the welding on the top side down the tunnel. I've gotten most of the spot welds done along the firewall, and then underneath there's like 70 welds that have to be done along the sides and along the outer firewall. So a lot of welding. I'll probably burn through another tank of gas and finish off a spool of wire, but it's getting there. I mean, I can already tell it feels so much more structural than it did with missing all that metal. So I'll keep this video going. It may take a couple days to get all this welding done, depending on work and other things. So hopefully by the end of this particular video, all this welding will be done. Well, aside from the cross member and the seat brackets, I about got this floor pan whipped. It's looking pretty good. Nice and solid. I'll show you the underside here in a little while. I paid special attentions where I knew I wasn't getting a good bond with spot welds. I added seam welds. along the edges, so I think it's going to be very solid. So I'm going to shoot this with some primer and then take some video of the underside. All right, bottom side all cleaned up. Rosette welds. I haven't been using that term, but I guess technically that's what these are. Not true spot welds, but rosette welds. Anyway, there's a bunch of them. All along I went on about 1.5 inch centers. Now, so on the lap, I just put a couple long, well, about 1 inch long lap welds, and a little bit more extensive there in the middle. But I'm going to wait. I'm going to lap weld that whole seam, but I'm going to do this patch here at some point, and then I'll go all the way down that seam. So I'm going to put some primer on the welds because they do have a tendency to rust. I think the galvanized metal from Restoration Design should be okay because for probably months before it starts to rust. So yeah, at least it's solid enough where I can get in and put in the seat brackets, the brake handle bracket. There's just some other smaller pieces I have to do on the top side, and this will definitely take my weight now. It's super solid. So this will be the conclusion of the rear floor pan project on this 914. Thanks for watching.